Hey guys,
it's Laurie of Laurie's Sewing, where we in the summertime sew and garden. I've been making these little sand-filled pin cushions. The reason I've chosen sand is because they're heavy, and because they're heavy they won't tip, which I don't like when I'm trying to pull pins. I need pins. I don't want this thing rolling across the sewing table. They're great for putting on top of your pattern if you're cutting out a pattern and you need something that's heavy enough that it will hold it on your fabric without being easily pushed out of the way. It works as a pattern weight, just like this is a pattern weight right here. And these are pattern weights. I wouldn't want to put my pins in a little heart-shaped, cute pattern weight that is filled with BBs. I don't think that would work very well. But sand, on the other hand, is known to sharpen your pins. And that is always a good thing. So that's why I've been using sand. And the sand I'm using is actually meant for topping off your houseplants. So you'll find it in garden centers. Sometimes you can find it in a little hardware store, plant stores for sure. Mine, I think I got it at Lowe's, but that would have been a couple years ago. It's just a small little bag. You don't have to have a huge bag. Another thing you can try for this type of project is loose emery. It's like the material they use on an emery board for, filing your fingernails. The type that you can find on Amazon is a like a kind of a graphite. There we go. It looks like graphite. So you can purchase it in a small, I think it's like 8 ounces. You don't have to fill this completely full. In other words, if you wanted to make one this size, which is across the bottom, a generous 3 inches, and the width right here I believe is 2 inches, and I believe that makes it 2 inches tall and 3 across the bottom. And then I just cut out a small little section for, here we go, for the boxed bottom that I created, and that was literally this right here is what I cut. So that would give you almost a 2-inch boxed bottom, of course. There we go. And then that is 2.5. So it's 2.5 from the bottom to the top here. It's 3 across here and 2 across there. You could fill this with something else, like say cardboard in the bottom. Just cut pieces of cardboard and kind of pack them in there, and then put sand on top or graphite on top of that. I just like the way this feels, so I just went ahead and used all sand, and I've lined the inside with Warm and Natural. I did not apply it, I did not sew it into this shape and insert it. I just cut a piece to fit here, cut a piece to fit here, and cut a piece to fit here on all sides. So I've got Warm and Natural, Warm and Natural, Warm and Natural, and Warm and Natural, and Warm and Natural. That's just sitting in there. And then I filled this with sand and then stitched across the top. And then I just attached a little bow. Okay, so here's the issue that I've got now. I want to finish the Simplicity shirt. I am, by the way, just full disclosure here. My camera is now set overhead. I'm trying different angles, and right now the way that the camera is set up is the third iteration of this camera boom that is over my head. I don't know if this is going to work. I don't know if this is the proper, if everything is to me, if that's proper for you. It is the most confusing thing I've ever done. I really should just bite the bullet and take an editing class and try to get this sorted out. So here's the thing that I wanted to talk about. I've got the collar band, the collar. This is the other band, I believe, yes. And this is the other collar. Okay. So last time we looked at this, I need to press this, but the last time we looked at this shirt, which up to this particular point I have been delighted with these instructions. Problem is, we get to placing the front placket, or as they call it, the front band. We have two bands. Do we have two bands? Because even if we don't have two bands, we still have a problem. Yep. Yes, we have two bands. Each of those bands gets a piece of interfacing attached to the wrong side, which I've done on both pieces. So the other issue here is there doesn't seem to be instructions on the attachment of this band, the band that has the ribbon stitched down the center. It is as if they assumed that we would there is literally, as far as I can tell, nothing about doing the second band. So, yes, I am going to go ahead and apply this band in the same manner that we applied the other band. So I don't want you to go away from this without this bit of information about this particular placket. Once you apply this ribbon, this is no longer malleable. You have already applied the interfacing to the back, which kind of stabilizes it. The piece of ribbon running down the long length of this truly prevents it from moving, and that is the whole point of that ribbon. So, in the construction of the shirt, you don't want the buttonholes to stretch out or the buttons to, misshape your front placket, and that is why this is applied. So the second thing I need to do is grab my regular foot. I have a different foot on my sewing machine, so just put that back in here, and I'm putting the 0 foot back on to my Bernina George. Oh, I don't know about you guys, but the today is, I believe it's the 26th of July, yes, and of 2021. And we are back in the throes of wildfires over here on the west side of the United States. And if you don't see the smoke, your body is still going to react to the smoke. Okay, so the way this works, so we want to have this raw edge matched up with the raw edge of our shirt. The thing is, we're going to be stitching it right side of band to wrong side of shirt. And we do need to pin. Make sure that this is right up next to the very top. and then just work your way down. I am spacing my pins about 6 to 8 inches. Get my pin cushion and hit the gas. Okay, and then we're going to take this piece right here and fold it over onto itself, right sides together. It should extend about 5/8 of an inch. Mine's a little short because of the adjusting I did, but it'll be about 5/8 of an inch past the hem of your shirt. And you want to make sure it's half folded right in half, like so. If you can see that right there. And we're going to, right below the hem, literally just right below that, we're going to stitch. Just like so. Okay. And the reason we do that is we want to be able to flip this like so, capturing the shirt hem inside, just like that. Now I do need to go, I need to press this toward the band, so this seam right here gets pressed this way, and then trim this down and clip that corner. So I could do that here. So I'm just going to clip the corner. You don't want to clip your stitches, but you don't need all that bulk in that seam. I want to get rid of these threads as well, just like so. Okay, right, so I'll flip this, clip, turn, press, and when I come back we're going to have this folded with the folded edge of the band, this right here, over the top of this seam right here, which we will also be clipping and trimming down, and then this gets stitched right along this edge so that it looks just like this one here. Alright, so the next step before we move on is we need to trim this down. It's just a little bit too big. That 5/8 of an inch needs to be clipped down to a nice 1/4 inch. So if you have a pair of duckbill scissors, which I do have, I'll go grab those. And this is what they look like right here. Okay, whoop, I'm moving out of range again. Okay, so you can either use a pair of these, or in much the same fashion, your regular scissors. It's a little bit more dicey to use these. These have this little safety right here that will prevent you from cutting. If you're careful, you can't be just cut with wild abandon, but make sure that nothing is under. There's a lot of shirt, you know, you don't want to cut a sleeve or something else. Just lay it out flat, like so. And with your regular scissors, oh, there's a piece of hot glue right there. I kept wondering what that was. You can cut carefully right along, just like this, to get that 1/4 of an inch. Again, you have to be very careful You could cut through your stitches, you could cut through something on the back side. You don't want to do any of those things. So if you have your duckbill scissors, just again, carefully clip like so. And I'm always going to check to make sure I don't have something underneath. No guarantee that I won't cut through something, but just to be careful, I do check often. Just like so. All right. Alrighty. So now we're going to flip this like so. And you can use a point turner if you're careful. You don't want to poke a hole down here in this corner, but just push gently to get that corner turned out like that. Okay, and again, I'm gonna, oops, I've got a thread here. I'm going to pin and I find the best way to do this is have your pins running vertically this way, or if you are facing your placket this direction, of course it would be a horizontal pin, but for me it just works to do it this way. It may be helpful if you wish to have a few clips along this side. So let me grab those so you can see what I'm talking about. So if you have some clover clips or wonder clips, you can just do this, which will also help keep everything in place. I don't think my clips were any brand name. I'll be honest, I bought them on Amazon, and the reason that I bought this particular set was the little tin that they came in was adorable, and I couldn't pass it up. It says Happy Day. Whoops, upside down? Yeah. I think it, well, we'll just try it all different ways, just in case. But I mean, the handle even has, and it's a pretty decent sized tin. I keep little things in there. Who could possibly pass that up? And it didn't have any kind of a name at all. So, and I've seen them, they still have these, not this particular design, but little tins with these clips. And I am not affiliated, non-sponsored by anything. So, just so you know, it was just something I found, I liked, I bought. Okay. And I'm using my stripes. I need to move this over just a little bit, but they're helping me on the front side keep this straight, and then the ribbon on the other side of this placket is helping me keep things straight. I don't think that this is what they intended, if I'm not mistaken, but the problem is it's difficult to see It is quite possible. There are no illustrations of where this is supposed to be when you're finished. And this particular side that they've illustrated here, I honest to goodness have no idea. This side doesn't show, this side doesn't show, this doesn't show, and it's not showing on the front. So I don't even know what to make of this, to be completely honest. When I've sewn things in the past with a ribbon placket, there are a lot of ways that you can do this, and you can use it as a functional embellishment. People who knit are very aware. I'll look it up, I'll figure it out, and I will drop the term in the description box below this video, because obviously it's one of those things that you can't find easily. Okay, so now we just stitch, basically top stitch as close to that edge as we can get, and then we do the same thing on the opposite side. We top stitch all the way down, and then we go back and we do 1/4 of an inch down, and then we come back up here and we do 1/4 of an inch down. So we have 4 stitch lines on each of these plackets. So, my goodness, I've got thread just everywhere. All right. Okay, so I'm going to start over here on this side. I'm going to stitch along as close to this edge as I can. I did move my needle over 1 click, and we'll see. I have to keep everything out of the way. I will need to remove these pins as I go. I can just kind of keep an eye on the clips. I don't think that stitching down this side will interfere with the use of the clips. So here we go, and I'm using a 2.5 stitch length. All right. Next, I think I'm just going to take these clips off. I don't feel like I need them. Okay. There is a spot right here. Yeah, it caught. Okay. All right. So the next thing I want to do before I go any farther is I'm going to take my pinking shears and carefully clip just a wee bit of, I don't want to cut too far down here, but just to kind of help with some of the raveling. Just looking at my stitching, make sure I'm not going to cut through that. And I'm known for preferring to stitch with natural fibers that tend to ravel like this. Alright, now, since we have those done, let's see what it looks like real quick. So, if I'm looking, Okay, so this will help me remember that this is, well, right here maybe, the buttonhole side. It's not necessary that you mark it, it's just, for me, it's so much easier to have that there. Okay, and I mean, I would know that the buttons were on the ribbon side, but, so the buttonholes will go over the top of your buttons, like so, and the buttons will just, of course, be poked through the buttonholes all the way down, and I think that looks pretty nice. Just like that. Now I do need to put the collar and the neckband and the collar on. These are the remaining 2 pieces. Well, 4 pieces, but 2 parts. Okay, so we've got these bands put on. Now I'm here to tell you that it does not tell you, unless it's in some sort of secret language. Yeah, I don't see it, that you're supposed to put them both on, but you are. And then we come up here to the next side of the instruction sheet, and we will be applying the fusible interfacing to the neckband right here, which I've already done. Okay, to the wrong side of one neckband and one collar section. Done that. Okay, this and this, the 2 pieces that do not have the interfacing applied, these 2 are referred to as the facings, and these are referred to as the neckband and the collar. We have stay stitched around the collar. We did that early on in the instructions, right around there. Okay. They want us to clip the shirt neck edge to the stay stitching. Okay, so let's move these out of the way, and you can kind of see a little bit of that on the darker side right there. So just to that stay stitching, and there is an illustration right here. And I'm just going to slant cut at fairly close intervals around. This just helps the neck edge of the shirt meet up with, in kind of a straight line. It'll open out a little bit flatter and straighter, so that when you're putting on the collar and the neckband, it will fit nicely. Alright, so let me move the shirt over there and go grab my excess fabric. Okay, so what I had to do was cut 2 new pieces of neckband because this piece was too short, just a tiny bit too short. So I peeled off the interfacing from the original piece. You can see it tore a little bit right there. No, you can't. You can't see that at all. Let me get you where you can see what I'm doing. Okay, right there. Okay, so right here. So these 2 are the new ones, and the reason the way I can tell is I did not cut the 2 notches on this side. I only have 1 notch. But anyway, I've peeled off that interfacing, and I'm going to reuse the interfacing on this one, and this is the one that goes with this. I may end up having to recut out the the collar as well. At this point I don't know. But I'm going to go press this down and then come back and pin it on and see if I'm where I need to be. Alrighty, that's that. Now let's see if it'll match up like it's supposed to. Alright, so we're going to take this collar band and right sides together, pin the collar band to the neck edge of the shirt. Once you get those two single notches aligned with the shirt, you can kind of work your way out, and there should be about 5/8 of an inch extension from the shirt neck edge. So there you have that extension right there. Okay, now you should have two little areas where your collar is, the neckband is longer than the neck on the shirt. I guess is how I'll say that. Okay, and we're supposed to clip this to our stitching line just to help it when you're putting the shirt on. You want the collar to easily flow around your neck, not bunch up and chafe and be uncomfortable. And you can grade that seam if you want to. I may do that. I wish I had now before I started doing this. To grade means that you're going to take a little bit of one layer and drop it down to a little bit less of a seam allowance, like so. I'm not cutting through all of the layers, as you can see. I'll stop about here. Okay, so you see there's a little bit of this way, and we are going to be pressing this toward the neckband, like so. It will be this direction. Fear I just right then snipped through that stitch, and there's really only one way to find out, and that is to flip your, yeah, right there. I sure did. I don't know if you can see it, but right here I clipped right through the stitch, so I've got to put this back under the sewing machine and repair it. Okay. And if that happens to you, please just do what I just did. It's easily fixed. There we go. Okay, so now I'm going to go press this facing toward the neckband, and I'll be back in just a moment. So to baste, I have to increase my stitch length to 5, and I will just, I don't normally baste. I don't like the idea of wasting all that thread, but this time I'm going to do it. Alright, we have that collar basted. And now they want us to take, and this is where it might get a little bit confusing, but we are going to take the collar. These are the large notches, and we're going to attach the collar like so to the neckband, matching up these notches. I recommend putting a pin in one and a pin in the other. Okay. Okay. Now there will be an extension here where the neckband will be larger than your collar. We've got that pinned. And then you take this piece of the neckband. Now you can see that there is a set of large notches right here, and we also have this single notch on the bottom. Now yours will have 2 notches. I only cut one out. I was cutting along, and I just went right over the top of that notch. So we are supposed to take this edge right here, where mine has that single notch, and fold it under, I think. Let me press, yes, press under this edge right here to 5/8 of an inch. Just press it down. I will take this over to the ironing board. Because this will be a finished edge, it's going to encase the raw edge on that collar. So we need that to be folded under, just like I'm doing, 5/8 of an inch according to the instructions. We don't need to do that on the curved edge, and I'll show you what I mean when I get there. I'm almost there. Alright, so I have come to the end, and I'm just going to stop right here. I'm not going to fold this under. Okay, I'm going to go hit this with the iron. That is the wonderful thing about glass head or crystal head pins. They won't melt, so I can pin something and go press it and not worry. There we go. That has been dealt with. I found a button when I was over there, and it apparently does not want to be part of this project. It keeps leaping out of my hands. I'm going to put it over here on Brother Louie's sewing table. That's my brother sewing machine. Alright, now let me see where I am. We need to stitch. Does it say to stitch or does it say to baste? Machine baste. Okay. Alright, I've still got it set on a basting stitch length, and I'm just going to go right over the top of this basting stitch. It will be my guide. Okay, now I've got these 2 big notches that I am going to line up. I want this to meet up with the edge over here. So even if my notched edge doesn't meet up, this right here is, to me, the most important. I'm going to pin, and you'll see that the collar is slightly set back from the edge of the neckband. So we're going to leave that like it is, continue pinning, and I'm going to go all the way across. I'm not going to keep pinning, I'm just going to go all the way across and make sure that this side is also meeting up and pin. Okay, now I can kind of guide this along that edge. Okay, so my notches do match. I'm going to let this be out just a bit, like so. So right along this edge, I gotta get that folded back, where the placket meets the collar right here, that's where we want to start. So let me put a pin there so you maybe can see. Right. Oh, too far in. It's hard to do it in the air. There we go, like so. Okay. So let me hold this right here where the placket enters into this part of the collar. We're going to start stitching there and go all the way around to the other side where we're going to do the same thing. And I will put my stitching back to a 2.5 stitch length. Okay, now we need to trim, and there are a couple curves right here along this edge that we need to clip. Right, and we're going to flip this and turn this right here out, like so, on both sides. Okay, and then this right here will come over and it will be stitched right to that edge, hiding this raw edge. You can stitch this way where you're stitching along from this side, or you can stitch this way where you are stitching from the side that needs to be captured, and that is what I'm going to do. The reason I'm doing it this way is because the collar will basically hide any mistake I might make on the back side, and I can make sure that I'm capturing the front side if I can see it, or I guess I should say the inside. Alright, I'm going to hold it together and move my fingers out of the way and stitch. Okay, perfect. Alright, now alright, yep, that looks really nice. Oops, sorry, I keep hitting the mic. I think I need to raise this up just a little bit. So we have our collar on. It looks very nice. So my plan for my label is to put it down here. I'm going to attach it at the lower end of the placket, but it has, let's see if I can get it where we can see it, like so maybe. There's like a little bird right there. I like it. So there it is, all the way down at the very bottom of the hem, sort of as an embellishment, less of a tag, more of an embellishment. Okay. So let's see, now that we have the collar and the neckband and the cuffs and the sleeves and all that all done. I'm not sure, but I'm thinking that as far as the shirt goes from this point on, it is buttonholes and buttons. Okay guys, so I thought I would try to do a buttonhole with you looking at it from the back side of George. Okay, so that is it for all of the buttonholes. I think I have done a video where I show how I open up a buttonhole, but I will show you here how I do it. Let me just kind of move George out of the way a little bit. Okay, so what you're going to need is a seam ripper, and it needs to be sharp. So if you've got one that you've not used before, or if you have your favorite, just go ahead and get it out. I'm going to use my shorter, sturdier glass head pins. These crystal head pins are wonderful. I love them, but they're longer and they're a little bit on the weak side. I want something sturdy. Alright, so I'm going to put a pin at the far end of the buttonhole, and I'm going to go through my fabric, across the bottom edge of the buttonhole, and come out across the top edge like this. So this is what I'm looking at, and this is the back side. I don't know if you can see it, but the straight pin is right here. Okay, I'm going to take my seam ripper with the long point of the seam ripper entering into the fabric down at the bottom of this buttonhole carefully. You don't want your finger in the way, so just push it through without stabbing yourself in the finger. And then just wiggle the seam ripper. I don't recommend that you just forcefully push it through the fabric. You could end up veering off and cutting through your stitches. But the pin at the end prevents you from going farther than the end of your buttonhole. And once you're done, your buttonhole is open. It's so easy. It's so simple. So it's down through this side and up through this side unless you're left-handed, in which case it'd just be the opposite of this. And then there's the pin, shiny part right there, going across the bottom edge, or in my case the top edge of the buttonhole. I'm going to take the pointy part of my seam ripper, the long part, and keeping this finger and all the rest of my fingers out of the way, I'm kind of holding my fabric like this on the back so that I don't have any finger in the way of the buttonhole. And I just push it through right there, and then just wiggle back and forth slowly and carefully. You don't want to cut your stitches until you get to the end, and the pin will stop you. You cannot go any farther. So then take the pin out, and voila, you have a buttonhole. I actually did want to mention before I begin to sew these buttons on that I decided I was going to try to use this extra heavy thread that I purchased, the Dual Duty XP Heavy. I'm going to see how that works, stitching these buttons on. So that was an interesting interlude. I have been looking for these squeakers that I bought for Bam Bam to make toys from for quite some time, and I was looking for something else having to do with a project, and lo and behold, I ran across these that I honestly thought were just gone. You know, things just disappear. So I made him a toy that he fell in love with and has just absconded with. It's here somewhere. He loves squeaky toys, and he has always, since he was a baby, enjoyed sitting beside me when I'm sewing him a toy. And I have no idea what angle to show this, so I'm just going to go all the way around in a circle. The shirt is done, guys. I am so happy with the way that it turned out. So the collar, I mean, I feel like that's just a little bit big, but I still like it. I mean, for this particular shirt, I think it works. It has a button up here at the neck, button, 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 button. And on my version right there, we have the label that says handmade with a cute little bird on a branch. So the cuffs have buttons. As you can see, they're cute. They're quite big, but I think that's kind of the theme of the shirt, is just big everything. So I suppose you could trim these down if you wanted a little bit more petite collar, petite cuffs, perhaps. But I do like it. I think it turned out really cute. My sister's going to love it. When you wear it, people probably know that you've made it. But it's so cute and so unique that they're going to want one. They're going to ask you, where did you get that shirt? So if you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. If you have not already subscribed, I sure hope you will. Please consider doing so. We would love to have you join us. And I will see you in the next video. Bye.